This is a story of how we made a game in 4 days and how you can do it too. Twinkle Twinkle Loopy Star was our submission for the Game Maker's Toolkit Game Jam in 2025. If you don't know about it, you probably should, because it's one of the biggest in the world and has been for the last few years. In summary, teams of artists, programmers and creators from all around the world joined this jam online and have to create a fully playable game in just 4 days. Last year there were almost 10,000 entries. At the start of the jam you are given a theme, and in this case the theme was loop. Gameplay loop, roller coaster loop, musical loop, you decide, but the games had to be clearly designed around that theme. So, the first thing we did, and I would recommend this to anyone, was to make a word map. We got a whiteboard, wrote in the middle of it the word loop, and started drawing branches extending from it. There, we wrote all the related words we could think of, and then words relating to those words, until we ended up with a whiteboard filled with a cloud of concepts that we could use. Mario, our programmer, and I are big music nerds, so we ended up convincing our game designer that doing a game around music loop was a great idea. Spoiler, it's better and easier if your game designer knows about the thing he's designing. We also thought a lot about cosmic loops, like planets going around and stars and stuff orbiting, and we decided to mix both concepts. Time to start coding and drawing? Nope. Time to wipe the whole whiteboard. You have a
Game design document
to make. Yay! It doesn't have to be something very complex. In our case, we just defined the gameplay loop, how the puzzles worked, and the information we had to display on a screen, which gave us the layout. Now it was time to sit down to work. We gathered the whole team and turned my living room into an improvised office, with everyone having their own computer and 2 screens if possible. The room became barely livable with all the heat in the middle of August in Spain, but we managed to survive. Somehow. Talking about the whole team, maybe it's time to introduce them. Mario Ortega was our lead programmer. He's a very talented engineer as well as an amazing musician, although he didn't end up having time to do that last part. Álvaro Paniagua was our game designer and technical artist, who did these very cool animations and was amazing at making the game nice. I was in charge of the art, and I had to learn the Unity animation timeline on the fly. Can't recommend it. I also ended up making the sounds and the music. We also had 2 writers, Nando D'Angulo, who couldn't come to the office but was helping remotely, and the most important member of the team, Jose Guerrero. And you are probably thinking, the game doesn't look like it has that much text, why is the writer the most important member? Because he was also the cook. Life advice: if you join a game jam, always get a cook. It will change your life. Having someone in charge of life support for the rest of the team was a game-changing decision, and we couldn't have made it without him. Anyway, after a lot of work, many energy drinks and very little sleep, we managed to publish a mostly working game to the jam and managed to place among the top 5%. Whew. But was it easy? No. Did we make it perfectly? No. Would we do it again in the same way? Hell no. And this is what you can learn from our experience. Lesson 1. Don't try to polish it before it works. We made the mistake of focusing too much on the bells and whistles, polishing all the parts so they looked nice, had animations, satisfying sounds, and it felt great. But then the deadline came and we still hadn't finished the very core parts of the game, and a polished game with no gameplay is not a game. So tell your artists to make placeholder art quickly and patiently wait until the prototype is more or less working for the actual art implementation. Lesson 2. Publish your game as quickly as possible. Anytime we had to rest during the jam, we usually spent it on the GMTK Jam page, scouting what other people were making and trying them out. On the first day, there were already some published games, and they were, of course, incomplete and bare bones, with no art or polish, but they existed, and many of them you could already play and enjoy. When the jam ends, the main people that will be voting are the participants themselves. And it's normal to want to find the ones that you are already familiar with and see how they ended up. So those games consistently placed among the top. There's another reason why you should do this, and it's because anything can go wrong in the last few hours. An unexpected game-breaking bug, an oversight, or a power outage. If you upload your game versions beforehand, you will end up the jam with at least something published. Lesson number 3. The web version is the important one. Did I tell you anything can happen in the last few hours? Well, it happened to us. We were exporting last minute when we realized that the web version had a game-breaking bug, and we didn't have time to fix it. We were left with just the Windows version, which meant that only 12 people ended up playing our game. They mostly liked it, but popularity is a numbers game, and player comfort will make or break your game.
Well, at least the game was satisfying and fun and cool and complete and... Oh no.
We had a game-breaking bug. A game jam is a very stressful and tiring experience. We had a lot of fun, but we ended up really burned out. So it wasn't until a year later that Mario took the time to go back to the project and fix all that was broken, getting rid of all known bugs and making it playable on web, which you can do right now. Just check the description. So Mario, what were the problems the game had and what challenges did you encounter when fixing them?
So we were basically facing 2 different bugs. One of them was regarding dragging
planets onto orbit. There was a bug that kind of got the planet stuck.
Yeah, okay. Mario said a lot of words that sounded very smart and didn't mention in any moment the little guys that make computers work, so he's probably lying anyway. But yeah, patch 1.1 is out, the game is playable, fun, and most importantly, done. This year we couldn't manage to participate in the jam, but if you did, we really hope you had a lot of fun and you learned a lot. If you want to add on with more lessons for the rest of the audience, please do leave them in the comments. We'll see you around in the next video, and if you enjoyed this one and learned anything, please like and subscribe for more. See ya!